Hey everybody, Brent back with you. Another edition of Star Huddle 77. How have you all been? It has been a minute. Um, wow, I just pushed play and I have some thoughts, but I felt like I wanted to get on and record a video to kind of give you some updates, both personal in my life and also my collecting journey and my thoughts and processes for the channel going forward. Probably going to split this into a couple, maybe even 3 videos, so it's not too long. I have a tendency to ramble, so I'm going to keep myself focused as possible. But man, it's good to be back on camera. I've watched a lot of content over the last year, and I've been involved with the hobby from a distance, loitering with intent, as they say. But I thought this was finally the time to get on camera and give an update. And before I get into where I'm at in my collecting journey, because it has changed considerably, I wanted to give a couple of life updates. So my job has been extremely busy, fruitful, and very successful this past year. I've been a part of opening, as of Tuesday, 45 new restaurants, which has taken me all over the country. I've been back east in New York City, been in Detroit, been down to Atlanta, been in the Midwest, been to Texas, been to Wisconsin, and all along the West Coast. So this has kept me busy and but very successful and doing very well, and I'm very happy with where my career has taken me and where it's going. So obviously that's taken up a lot of my bandwidth. So as you can see, I'm in a hotel right now. I'm in beautiful Bend, Oregon as we speak, and a lot of my videos probably will continue to be from a hotel room. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I am an empty nester as of January 2nd of this year. My son has been moved out of the house for a couple years now. He is currently working on a project for his job down in Texas. And then my daughter moved out in January and is living in the Phoenix, Arizona area. She's going to come home for the summer and then go back down there in the fall, working towards her degree. So big adjustment for my wife and I. We are empty nesters for the first time, officially unofficial, not 100% empty nesters, but for the most part, yeah. So that's been a big adjustment for us. Good though. Speaking of my wife, we have a YouTube channel. We have a music channel. I'll put a picture of the channel right there. We recently just passed 10,000 subscribers, which is pretty dang cool and just bizarre for this side project that we decided to do. That's a music channel where we just kind of explore music that we love, and we do a bunch of countdowns of our top music from a genre or an artist or a year, and we spend a lot of time just nerding out on music. It's a hobby for us that we love. We'll sit and talk about music all day long anyway, so why don't we just make a video out of it? She does primarily most of the video construction and editing, but most of the research and legwork behind it is a project of both of ours, and we're having a ton of fun doing it. So check that out if you want. That'd be cool. So that's an update on me as far as life goes. So my collecting journey. Over the past year, I have sold probably about 95% of my collection. Of that 95%, I'd say about 70 of it has been through consignment. Greg Morris cards, I've used them primarily for my consigning of cards. And then the other 30% probably has been on eBay. So I have sold most of my cards. Why? Great question. And that's kind of going to be the impetus for the rest of this video. Just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't enjoying it, and the joy that I was receiving was primarily from the hunt and the acquisition, and then it seemed to stop there. There didn't seem to be any inherent joy once the card was received. There was no desire and or time to really just enjoy my collection, and it just was getting bigger for no reason. And then things were being put away and things weren't enjoyed, things weren't displayed. And I was just always looking for the next thing to acquire. So my journey has led me to a place where I just decided, you know what, I'm not feeling it, and there's no need for it. So everybody's different, and everybody approaches life in a different way. For me, I need structure to keep me accountable. Whether I'll give you a great example. I've started going back to the gym this last month and a half. Now, when I say the gym, beforehand, I had a gym membership that I would just go when it's convenient. And once I got there, I would only do what I wanted to do because it's really easy. Now I go to it's called Fit Body. It's more like it's structured. They have a trainer. You go in there and they have it set out for you, and you don't get to go in there and pick and choose. It's like you're there. Now you have to do this stuff, right? And that's what I need. That's me. That's not everybody, but that's how I roll. And it's been very beneficial. So I use that analogy to kind of give you the reason behind why I sold most of my stuff. I needed that structure. It was just too off the cuff and it wasn't structured enough for me. So I needed to just do a clean sweep. And I kept a few things that were either sentimental, things that I've had for a long time, things that had inherent value beyond the dollar sign, and more just personal stuff. But I'd say for the most part, I just sold everything. I still have a few things that are in consignment right now. I have acquired some new cards in a different realm or collecting genre, that more to come on probably the next video. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I have pretty much purged my whole collection. And I wanted one of the things that really has resonated with me over the past year really is kind of the psychology behind collecting. And there's a few channels out there that really touch on that from a 30,000 foot view of just like, why do we collect? Why do we collect the way we do? Why do we change? Why do we do all of these things? I kind of really got into that. And one of the channels that's really good at that is Brett at Stacking Slabs. And I've always enjoyed his content, even though he doesn't collect anything that I collect. He's got a lot of guest speakers on there, and he has different topics of his videos. But usually the reasoning behind most of his discussions is the psychology of why we are who we are, why we collect the way we collect, when we change, why do we change, is it okay to change, all of these things, and the nuances behind how we think. And I really leaned into that. And one of the topics that really resonated with me is weighing depth of your collection versus the breadth of your collection. And I was definitely not feeling the depth part of it. It felt very shallow, but it felt very broad. And I think, sometimes you hear something and it just clicks. Like, that's exactly how I feel. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you for saying those words. That's exactly what I wanted to hear because I needed to hear it. Now I can put a pin in it. That's what I need to focus on. So again, that's how I am. And I sometimes struggle for kind of putting a title or a category into how I'm thinking. So sometimes when I hear that, it just clicks. And that's exactly what Brett did on one of his videos for Stacking Slabs. So definitely check him out. One of the other things that came up through my collecting journey is, and this is kind of the angel versus the angel and the devil on the shoulder. It's the curator versus collector dichotomy. And I want to read to you what I came up with, piecing together some different definitions I found online, and just thinking to myself how I view being a collector versus being a curator, because I am definitely now in the curator camp, and that's exactly how I want to be. That's how I want to stay. That's how I'm going to stay focused. But first, let me read to you, and I have it written right here, what a collector is. A collector amasses items often driven by personal interest, desire, or investment, focusing on quantity or personal passion. Now, and if I remember, I'll put the words up here as well. There's nothing wrong with it. 100%. That is perfectly fine. But let me read to you what I believe a curator is, and maybe you'll see the difference and maybe understand the direction that I want to go going forward. A curator, however, selects, organizes, interprets, and cares for items to tell a specific story, create meaning, and provide context, acting as a thoughtful steward. So just inherently, a curator there's going to be more depth to it, and there's going to be a reason behind the items in your collection that you have organized, you've interpreted, and you care for, and often and hopefully they will tell a specific story. That's what's going to keep me focused. It's going to keep my blinders on, and it's going to keep me having a collection, even though I say collection as a curator of said collection, it's going to be meaningful, that I will have stories behind them. And it's not just because, yeah, I like this guy and he's got a card that I don't have, I need to get that. I'm not that guy. And I was becoming that guy. And I don't want to be the type of collector, because I was. And, again, I don't feel a lot of channels, just, give me a second. A lot of channels, folks feel like they need to give you the reason why they're thinking it. Like, okay, this is okay. This is just me. If you want to do it another way, that's not what I'm doing in this specific area. I am telling you, I do not want to be the type of collector that finds a card, buys a card, receives a card, looks at card, puts it in a box, and then it's there for months. I'm not going to be that guy. I am not going to have a collection that's going to just be stored in boxes. And the most that I ever looked at that card is when I received it, maybe put it on a video, talked about it, and then I put it away. Again, that's just the way that I'm going to approach it, which inherently means I'm going to have a lot less cards in my collection. Yes, I'm going to put a cap on how many cards I have in my collection. Haven't officially decided yet, but as of right now, I'm thinking about 100. I have 48 cards in my possession. About 50, actually, if I think about it. So I'm about halfway there. Doesn't mean I'm aiming for 100. I'm just going to cap out at 100. And the reason for that is they're going to be displayable. They're going to be things that will be able to, I can rotate around and I can have at my fingertips, not put away, not in a box, in a cupboard, up in an attic, in a closet. That defeats the collector versus curator difference, in my opinion. You may have seen this thumbnail for this video. That's the image that came to my mind during this curator versus collector journey. And if you're not familiar with that picture, let me show you a quick clip of said picture. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that very famous scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's exactly how I don't want to collect. Imagine a card that you love, or maybe you just like, that's in that box that is being wheeled by that gentleman and put away. Now, obviously, in that box is the Ark of the Covenant, which is, if you want to equate it in the card collecting world, would be like the holy grails of holy grails. Imagine putting that in a box and then just putting it in a cupboard and then it sits there. By the way, I don't understand how people can use the PSA vault. some of the cards that are kept in the PSA vault by people that have bought them are amazing cards, not just value wise, but just beautiful, amazing cards. And you don't have them in your possession. That seems so transactional to me and completely just doesn't make sense to me when it comes to the curator versus collector mentality. That's 100% collector, because there is no curation if you don't even have the card in your hand, again, in my opinion. I know there are some folks that keep cards in safe deposit box out at a bank or other things. I get that, but I also don't want to be that guy. I want to have enough cards, not too many, that are meaningful, all purpose driven, and all story laden, and have a cohesive reasoning behind why I own them and are curating them. So that's really where my journey has taken me right now. And if I can give one more analogy that popped in my head right before I started to hit record on this video, I had mentioned at the beginning that I was so inherently focused on the hunt and the acquisition and not focused on the possession and the joy that should come with having that card in my collection. It's akin to when I was a kid growing up in the early to mid 80s, and I would have G.I. Joes, big G.I. Joe guy, right? And I would spend hours upon hours setting up a battle scene, whether it's outside where you had Cobra on one side and the Joes on the other, and maybe you had a river in between, and they had to they would battle and they would have to move over the river to get to the other side. Or if it was raining, I'd be inside and I would make, with blankets and pillows and plants, whatever it was to make like a battle scene. I would spend hours setting it up. And there was so much joy in that. But then when it came to, okay, now it's time for the battle, it lasted like 10 minutes. There was no joy in that because it was just like, it was over, right? And I want to be the opposite of that. I don't want to have all the joy being spent in the hunt. Don't get me wrong, there is joy in the hunt. When you find it and you see it and you know it, there is inherent joy. There is an endorphin rush that cannot be matched. But I don't want it to end there. I don't want it to end once I receive it and I have that moment of, oh, this is so great, this is so beautiful. I got to share this, either it's Instagram or on a video, you share it with friends, but then I don't want it to then be put away. I want it to be out. I want it to be fresh. I want it to be often looked at, and I want it to be purposeful in its purchase and its curation, because now it is my item, my possession to curate. So I think part 2 is going to come soon, and I will discuss more about what I'm collecting now and the direction I'm taking. I'll have another channel that I want to shout out in my next video that was very impactful in how I'm thinking and the direction that I'm taking, and his words were very wise and sage to me. So I will share that in my next video. But super happy to be back, super happy to be on camera, and would love to hear comments down below. I'm going to continue to make videos, maybe even more of in a podcast form, and then have kind of like a monthly, bi-monthly mail day. I kind of like that format. So more to come. It's pretty, organic right now, but definitely wanted to get on camera and talk to you good folks and remind you that, oh yeah, I'm subscribed to this guy. I forgot about this guy. So here I am. All right. I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk soon. All right. Appreciate you. Bye.